Going into the 2006 World Series of Poker, I had very high expectations of myself because I was told by most of the people around me that I trust that I had a real shot. Personally, I didn't believe it. I had never played with the best players in the world before, and I didn't think that I could compete. But so many people around me were telling me that my style was completely different and really suited towards this kind of tournament that, you know, half of my brain felt like I could actually win the whole thing, and half of it felt like I had absolutely no shot, if that makes sense. Johnny Chan helped me a lot. Not much in teaching me how to play poker. He never really taught me anything specifically about playing a hand, but he helped me a lot in the sense that he allowed me to be around him in a time where I was nobody in the poker world. I was a television producer and I wanted to produce a poker show about him, and he allowed me to hang around and watch him play, and studying his play helped me a lot. And he also inspired me because he's such an amazing player. He kind of forced me to to never make a mistake. And so if you're around a guy like him, it's hard not to aspire to some level of greatness. When he really started helping me was once he saw that I had a chip lead in the World Series. He started watching me closely, and that made me really nervous, but also made it so that I just did not want to make a mistake. I didn't want to look foolish in front of him. So I'd say, you know, by the third day when I was a chip leader, he was standing behind me and constantly reassuring me. Every night I would call him for advice, and he would say the same thing every night. What is your plan? I would tell him my plan, and he'd say, that sounds perfect. So maybe he just reassured me that I was doing the right thing and made me feel really confident. And I think that's what, more than anything, helped me win from him, is that he helped build my confidence and helped me keep my confidence. I knew that, like any, semi-aware poker player, it doesn't have that much to do with the way I'm going to play. When you get to the final table, if somebody gets a great run of cards at the final table, you're going to lose. That's all there is to it. I was told by everyone around me that I trust to play the complete opposite way that I played. I was told to stay away from everybody, especially Alan Cunningham, and that I'd be guaranteed second place because I had so many chips that if everyone played against each other and not me, I'd be guaranteed second place, and then I could play it out, probably with an even chip stack for the title. But I just went after every single player and played almost every hand because that's just the way that I play. So it kind of worked for me, and I obviously got lucky. I got a lot of great hands. I played, as well as I could play, and that combination turned to work out. But no, I wasn't that confident that I was going to win the whole thing because it wasn't just Alan Cunningham. It was anybody. If anybody got a few, great hands, it's all over. Once I got the chip lead at the main event, my strategy was against everything that I was told to do, and I'm sure that the people who were telling me that they were right. The only person who actually supported what I was doing at the time was, because I asked for advice from a lot of the great pros. Once I had a chip lead and once there was a lot of attention focused on me, I was lucky enough to have access to Doyle Brunson and Chris Ferguson and Johnny, and some of the greatest players in the world were kind enough to give me some advice. And the only person who supported the way that I was playing was Chris Ferguson. Everyone else I spoke to, Phil Hellmuth, Doyle Brunson, Johnny Chan, all said, you better stop doing what you're doing because it just will not work. And you should keep quiet, and there's a better way to play than to talk to people at the table. And then I asked Chris Ferguson, and he said, the best advice I can ever give anybody, especially you, is don't take advice from anybody. And these guys only know what they're talking about for them. But for you, I've never seen anybody that table talk has worked better for. Why would you possibly stop doing what you're doing? So I kind of reinforced for me that I was doing the right thing, and I just continued to do it, and it ended up working really well for me. I think it also depends on who you're playing with. When I got sat at this table that I'm in the tournament now, I'm playing with maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 of the best players in the world, and I had to take control of that table. If I wasn't playing every hand, they would have run over me. So it happened to work out, but some people would have said that it was a big mistake. But I think that if I hadn't have played the way that I was playing, then somebody else at my table would have. And I think there's usually, at one point or another, there's always somebody who's controlling the table. You know, everybody feels that because they saw it on ESPN and that, you know, every hand I played I must have gotten unbelievably lucky. Well, believe it or not, I actually didn't get a lot of big hands. Every big hand I got you saw on television, but we probably played 5,000 hands. And 4,500 of those hands, I had absolutely nothing. But I played anyway. And to me, you have to be able to play when you have no cards and when you have great cards. I don't care what two cards I have. I still believe that poker has very little to do with the cards that you're playing. And it's what Chris Ferguson taught me, and it's what I truly believe. And it had to have a lot to do with why I maintained that chip lead, because I just refused to play any other way. And especially at the final table, people said that that was the dumbest way you could possibly play. But I didn't care about coming in ninth. I wanted to win the whole. I didn't even want to come in second. I decided by the time I got to the final table, I wanted to win the whole thing so badly that I was going to play exactly the way that I always played, play almost every hand, bluff almost every hand, and if it didn't work for me, then I didn't deserve to win. And it happened to work for me. And I got some great cards. Of course I got lucky. I don't think any major tournament anyone's ever won hasn't gotten lucky. And maybe I got luckier more than most, but you know, I'm very fortunate, and I appreciate whatever luck comes my way whenever it does. Well, when I first won, it meant a lot to me because I won. My father was, you know, on his last days and was really sick, and I didn't know if he was even going to make it through that whole tournament, and he did, so he got to see me win. He knows that it wasn't my life's goal because I didn't realize that there was even a World Series of Poker. When I saw Rounders a few years ago, it was right when I started playing. But my grandfather was a master gin rummy player, and so my mother plays a lot of cards. And I remember when I decided to play, I had told my girlfriend that I thought that if I worked hard enough, I could win the World Series of Poker. And the first time I played, it happened. And so it's in one way, it was a beautiful thing, but in another way, it's you don't necessarily want to accomplish your goals in the first time that you do something, because then what else is there? All I ever wanted to do was win the World Series of Poker. As a poker player, nothing else really mattered to me. And I did it in my first shot. And so, in a weird way, it's a little bit of you know, I think the chase is maybe more exciting than actually winning, because now I'd have nothing to prove to myself. And so, you know, I'll figure out what's next, but it's a really weird thing. You'd think that it would mean everything to you and then you could move on, but I think I enjoyed the possibility of winning more than I've enjoyed winning. Because I wouldn't mind my whole life having something to prove to myself and always trying to win. I think sometimes that, you know, the anticipation of it and the road to victory is much sweeter than actually doing it. I've spoken to a lot of athletes, which I don't compare myself in any way to an athlete, but they felt that, you know, they've come up to me and felt that they had the same situation, that when they won the big one, there was nothing else for them. Yeah, I'd love to win it again. I don't imagine that would ever happen, but I don't know. It was kind of bittersweet because I don't have that goal to chase anymore. So I'll have to just find other goals in life. In this year's World Series of Poker, I would hope to at least cash. You know, come in the top 10%. I don't want to bust out early. You know, some of my closest friends expect me to win again, which is really odd. But they said, we expected you to win the first time, which was odd. So, you know, I don't want to disappoint them. My mother thinks I'm going to win it again. I can't imagine ever winning it again. But, you know, my goal past cashing would be to make the final table. If I made the final table, that would be, you know, a pretty great accomplishment. But I don't think nothing will ever compare to winning it the first time. And that's, you know, I feel like I've accomplished everything I've ever wanted to accomplish personally for the world of poker. I'm hoping that I could maybe make things better for poker players in the world, maybe help change some of the laws or some of the rules so that it's more favorable to poker players. I feel like the one thing that I can do now after winning is maybe give something back. And I'm going to do as much charity as I possibly can. I want to give as much money as I can to different charitable causes that I believe in. And so I feel that maybe now as a winner, that's something I can now do things for other people. I was very selfish in the first year playing because all I wanted to do was win for myself and for my family. But now I think maybe I can help a lot of other people.